Whew.
Was it leg hook? Yeah, I'll only run lead leg hook. There, or spin, because
That takes so much time, huh?
this thing doesn't make any sense, you know. I barely deal with that thing. I don't like that thing at all. If I'm going to shoot at you with my back leg, it is going to be a round kick. It is going to be a spinning kick. I really like lead leg. The thing about the hook kick is that there's always that shoulder out there that they usually try and think about that you want it if like you're going to suffocate or get up over the outside. Over outside of something. You have to have shoulder is what I think about, just because even if I hit this high, but I hit it going like this, right? You know, on a person it's going to get a chunk. Because it's like you're in training thinking you're hitting somebody in the head all this time, and then you run it for real and you chunk it off their shoulder. What the heck? And that's when like I started to understand, like, okay, wait a minute. You have to be thinking about that. Now, I never ran hook kick to head for anything competitive, but for round kick, it's the same thing. Look at people that run their head high round kick, shoot, and if you actually trace their foot, it's going that way, which is cool. But if you ever want to have that opportunity to be here and not, you know, catching into somebody that's got a good guard, pow, it's got to have that tendency to go clean over. That's one of the things about the question mark kick that is so useful. That was not a question mark. I'm not going to throw with my right leg right now. But that was a true round. The other thing that you can think about is if you get a partner whose leg tends to cut clean, then even if you hit the top of their head, you put a ton of energy into their head, into their system. There are times where just because of the deflective, like the skull is round, and you'll hit somebody on the dome of the head, and it'll go and getting kicked in the head sucks. I mean, nobody, like, that's not an issue. But alternately, it's way different than like, it's way more one of those things where like, you would know this. This happens to me, actually this happens to me once every 6 months or whatever. I'll be with a knife prepping and catch my fingernail in such a way that I'll be just like, thank God for fingernails. But it puts this shot, you know, this up your spine of like, and so that's sort of the similar sensation where you're like, warning received. This kid will kick you, or guy will kick you in the head. I did hit the second, but it was like a feather. That's one of the things about gimmick kicking. You can see I'm trying to hit the first one as like lightly as possible. Trick kicks always are tricks. Had a little bit more, like, let's just do this thing about it.
I heard someone say that.
Sometimes you get lucky. And you get that?
I think the wind kind of. You're setting that up.
Oh, how do you mean? Oh, so like, one of the reasons I like this is it just keeps things happening as a part of a system, even if it's a gimmick kick, and this functionally is a gimmick kick. Like, pop, pop. So like in what we'll call real life or whatever, I would probably want to be here, pop, pop, right? And so this is that twist. As I'm going to recover this back, right? That's when my hip naturally is going to go up. If we were working on this with you as a student, again, I might even say, let's start from a static pose. Make sure your feet are clean and good, and then just work on this notion of, and notice like, I'm only gonna run my foot up like this line, right? It's not like in a form where I'd want it all the way in my back pocket. If we're thinking about free sparring or whatever, I'm gonna go here as much as I can. And so you'd be here, here, 1, 2, 3, right? Or, and that's head high. If we were training this as a first student, right? And think of the advantage here. I want my partner to be here. You know, ba, 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 ba. Because I don't want to make ba, ba, ba. And so I'm here, ba, 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 ba. You know, hopefully, and if I get the reaction, obviously if I don't get the reaction I want, if they're just running and playing, then I'll maybe do a shot, maybe I don't show it, whatever. You know, you're here, their leg is sticking out, you know, kind of a deal. But that would be the difference there. So remember, you'll be here, and there's actually advantage. Their hands are already up here. Now, it's super cool to be like, pow, and have that like in your quiver as a deal. But there's every chance that the more successful practical combination would be pow, pow. Because hopefully they're here, and the next round kick gets to go there. Oh, do it, yeah. Oh, and more than one now. Take your time. And again, just gonna have that sense of, okay, pull your right hand back, and your left leg rounds it up. Better, yeah, like that. And again, it's that sense of, and don't, and yeah, I would be getting in a hurry. Yeah, exactly. And that always happens. You want it to always happen on rhythm. 1, 2, 3. 3. There, nice. And again, so it's sort of like in music where that third beat wouldn't come faster. And I think that's one of the things that will happen. Is that, is that you'll think, okay, now when I turn it up, as it were, it's going to go like 1, 2, 3, or like that third one is going to get its emphasis by being faster, and that's not really what happens in actions. It's more that that third one is, you know, it's that it's like 1, 2, 3, you know, kind of a deal. So you have a little bit more opportunity to just, you know where the beat gets its forte. 3. And again, remember, the only thing I was going to point out, the drill for me, if we were going to do this as a class or whatever, would be, okay, now I'm going to do the third one, just so I punch it a little further. So that's the whole, like, this dude is not correcting. This guy is not correcting, right? And so I've kicked him in the stomach and already seen, like, it makes him uncomfortable, and he's just not getting his elbows down. I don't know why. Now, alternately, if he gets his elbows down and starts getting too gun shy on the body, then you're like, well, this is exactly why I set up the body. Because now we're gonna like, oh, maybe bring his hands up again, right? And then again, you think of that, the opposite corner thing, right? So it's here, so these opposite corners got to work together. On this one, I would be like, jab, jab, and now these opposite corners work together, as it were. And so I think about how, because that, and again, that would be a whole nother thing of just thinking when I would want people to understand, okay, listen, your overall strategy is going to dictate your tactical training. What techniques are you going to group together? And then when I talk about what techniques, or when someone talks about what techniques do you group together, you could be talking about grouping techniques together the way all the A's go together in a dictionary, right? Where the only real relation isn't their meaning or their usage or anything, but they start with the letter A. You know what I mean? You just gather them like that. Like, okay, I have a jab, I have a cross, I have a this, I have a that. Alternately, remember that
I would switch sides so now.
yeah, just keep thinking about it.
Nope.
Yep, no, if you're doing a lead leg kick, you were fine there.
Oh, that's this one. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have that back hand forward and then pull your back, shoulder back, and left leg, or now your right leg, I should say, goes. Nice. Good hit. And again, that's that idea of, I think too easy in the beginning, even as you get to be a good kicker, to be thinking, like, moving your mind completely down there. And so it'll be easier to be thinking about, like, how is my foot going to get that high? When that's useful, but also, how's my foot going to get that high powerfully with me on balance? And then it's like, well, if I'm going to be on balance, then my lower and upper half have to come into coordination with each other. And there can be different ways of doing it. Again, the only thing I'm going to point out is, and you're not doing this, neither am I don't think. Remember that if I'm here, I'm not going here. Neither of us are doing that. I didn't demonstrate that.
Once in a while I catch myself.
Well, it's the only reason I pointed it out is because I know that I'll catch myself doing it too. And for me, I do not like the ducking head techniques typically, because for me, again, one of the advantages of being here is only here, right? Is that if
coming down like loading up power here.
right, exactly, and that's again, if we're thinking about chaining techniques together, it's not like you'll see a student, and this would be like you'll see a student come up with a combo like this, where they'll go kick, kick. Now, and who cares? What do I care? And frankly, there are ways to go here, right, and then here, and have it work out. But generally speaking, like energy streams that work against each other are really hard to pull off. And then that's the only other thing that you'll notice about me is just watch this foot. Just watch the bottom. And you'll notice it moves probably 6 inches or so across, on the floor, because it's the only way that it can happen, in my experience. Right? If I'm going to throw that head out, there has to be that pull of the leg, and so
Almost.
I do not.
This.
To a certain degree, it's also a way of saying, if I'm going to run head high, I typically won't step, because now I'm doing this thing where there's just a weird geometry all of a sudden happening.
Right here.
Yeah. sort of like that. But again, so I am not thinking about moving my foot on the floor. I'm not planning on where to put it or whatever. It's very much like if someone were to say, put this there and put this there, it would happen just like that, right? Because we have over the years developed so much confidence and facility. Now, when I kick this, just because of the decades, my mind will be much more like my mind here, right? My mind won't be, wow, I'm doing something really athletic or doing something that like, I'll just try and go like that. If I'm here, bah, 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 there's every chance that my partner is going to try and wipe, you know, and do his thing. So anytime I throw, I'm thinking of them throwing back. And so that's the only other thing is like, as you work through heavy bagging stuff, that's a partner that has been, in the moment, is just not answering the call, which is good, and everyone does it. But for whatever reason, they're here. Alternately, is usually what's going to kind of happen, you know, where you're here, whoa. That's where, like when you watch the videos of where you can tell it's a clear, like point fighter versus a boxer or somebody, and there'll be we're working on hands, to the feet, right? And again, with that notion that, what if I'm here, and now my partner says, woo, right? They're not covering like in caught, or caught mentally, but they're like, woo, zoom, right? And so now you're like, because your reverses are longer, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, because now you're collapsing space, etc. So listen, the other thing to do is feet to hands, and they'll say, like, again, the general notion is like, never throw a kick, you know, a kick from zero. Never start a combination of time. When I think people talk about never throw a kick unset up, they're talking almost specifically about round kicks. Now, front kick's actually the first thing I throw on this one. Right, and now I'm reading for this. I usually read for double down block. If you get to where you're, if you get to where you can kick them in the ribs or whatever, and have them just like once be like, oh, that was wrong. Don't show that. If you're gonna hit them with that shot that's meaningful, and lets them know, like, all right, then you can get to where you're gonna play more of a game of like, pow, pow, and that's where hopefully they're getting hinky, zoom, zoom. And again, once I decided that you know what, that front kick has done its job, and I'm just going like this, I'm just going like this, and that's when you're like,
I like that one.
It's
gonna be in the bloopers.
Yeah, exactly.